Tonight on CFTK-TV News, a recap of last night's All-Candidates Forum in Kitimat, the City of Terrace introduces a new deputy fire chief, and the demolition of Mills Memorial Hospital makes progress.
Northwest BC's only television news team. We are CFTK-TV News.
Hello, and thanks for joining us on this Wednesday, April 16th, 2025. I'm Jaylene Matthews. We begin tonight with our news local to the Northwest. Candidates looking to represent the Skeena-Bulkley Valley in Parliament got the chance to debate in person last night. CFTK-TV's Cale Maslin has more.
Yesterday evening saw several of the candidates running in the Northwest for the federal election attend an all-candidates forum in Kitimat at the Mount Elizabeth Theatre. Incumbent NDP Skeena-Bulkley Valley MP Taylor Backrack, Conservative Party candidate Ellis Ross, and Christian Heritage Party Representative Rod Taylor were all there, but the candidates representing the Liberals and the Greens, Inderpaul Dillon and Adana Young, were not there. During the forum, major topics discussed included the likes of immigration, businesses searching for new staff members, support for secondary industries in Kitimat, industrial development and energy projects in the Kitimat area, and potentially the most pressing issue for everyone in Canada right now, the cost of living crisis.
The things that I mentioned, dental care and pharmacare, those make a real material difference for people who are struggling. But there's more that we need to do. You know, in the years following the pandemic, when we saw inflation skyrocket for a whole bunch of different reasons, we saw people struggling, especially low-income people struggling, and working people too. And yet we saw the biggest corporations in Canada making record profits. We saw their profit margins increase, whether that's oil and gas companies, whether that's grocery chains, whether that's the banks. And so how can you have this cost of living crisis when people are struggling, but not everyone? Some people are doing very, very well. And so, you know, we think that that needs to be addressed.
Sorry to tell you, but it's going to get worse before it gets better. The carbon tax is a temporary thing, unless it gets wiped out in legislation. But the carbon tax affects so much. From the farmer that gets carbon taxed, he passes it on to the trucker. The trucker then actually buys the fuel and gets carbon taxed and passes it on to the grocer. And then the grocer actually has to pass that on to you. So it's really important that you hold your government accountable and your politicians to do what they say and say what they mean. The Liberals, on the other hand, have also introduced through Carney that they're going to have to add more taxes to you flying. Yeah. They just said that today.
Well, I agree with Ellis that the carbon taxes are the single biggest cause of inflation. They've been sold to us as something to do about the environment, but it's been a big lie all these years because everything you buy, everything you eat, everything you wear, and even if you're building a house, your housing supplies, all are transported by truck. They pay the carbon taxes, Ellis has pointed out. And the other major factor is the reckless printing of money, which is basically overspending by the socialist government we've had, the Liberals and the NDP coalition. It's directly their fault that our inflation has gone through the roof.
A pair of these forums will be happening again very soon, as one in Houston will take place tonight at the Houston Community Hall at 7 p.m., and another one will occur tomorrow in Burns Lake at the Heritage Church at 6 p.m. For CFTK-TV News, I'm Cale Maslin.
The November search for missing person Aidan Waddle that was forced to end due to change in weather resumed Monday. Family, locals, and RCMP looking for Aidan resumed the search at Gittinyao Lake. Family has reported that Monday's search did find and recover Aidan. His family will now be able to lay him to rest. Family took to social media to thank everyone who reached out and assisted in the search. The demolition of Mills Memorial Hospital has now advanced significantly. Anyone passing by will notice the extensive debris and rubble where the hospital once sat. The demolition is being conducted by PCL Construction. PCL is using watering methods to keep the dust down, and Northern Health is monitoring vibration to make sure that it stays within acceptable levels. Although the Skeena Valley seniors continue to publicly lament the destruction of the hospital, Northern Health ultimately deemed the structure not to be suitable for any further use. However, equipment and items were repurposed whenever possible. Demolition began about a month ago, and the full demolition process is expected to take roughly 2 to 3 months. Following demolition, the area will be converted to parking to ensure that there's enough parking on site for patients, staff, and volunteers. And the City of Terrace is set to officially welcome a brand new deputy fire chief. Brad Owens, coming over from the Kitimat Fire Department, is moving into Terrace's deputy fire chief position after the position's previous holder, Joel Broussard, was promoted to head fire chief in December of last year. Owens is set to begin his new position on May 5th and will help the city's fire department strengthen its operational readiness. Owens already has some familiarity with Terrace's firefighters since he has collaborated with them during his time as a member of the Kitimat Fire Department. And the Prince Rupert Port Authority recently was able to give a gift to the district of Port Edward that should help them keep their community a bit safer. The Port Authority gave the district's volunteer fire department a brand new fire truck that is now in service to help their local community as well as its surrounding area. The district partnered up with the PRPA's Community Investment Fund to get this truck bought, with the fund providing about $155,000 to cover part of the truck's $500,000 total cost. The previous truck that was used by the volunteer fire department had been in service for about 3 decades. Now with the new truck, the local firefighters will be able to respond to fires better now. Coming up next, residents begin seeing lower prices at the gas pumps. The Terrace RCMP is investigating a hit-and-run case that happened in a parking lot located on 4761 Lake Elsa Avenue. A white cube van ran into another vehicle that was luckily unoccupied when the collision occurred, but the van did not stick around after the incident. Police were able to get both pictures of the van as well as its driver on camera, and if you happen to have information that could lead to the discovery of the driver, you're asked to call the Terrace RCMP or Crime Stoppers. Thanks to a $10,800 contribution from the Terrace Old Age Pensioners Association, the Terrace View Lodge was recently able to purchase a complete gantry ceiling lift and motor system. The new lift is set to be a big boost to the lives of residents of the lodge by allowing patients that have some kind of physical detriment to remain in their rooms. The contribution of those funds was announced by members of the Dr. R.E.M. Lee Hospital Foundation at the latest Happy Gang members meeting. And it's welcome news for Canadians. The country's inflation took an unexpected dip last month. The Stats Canada data attributing the ease to lower gas prices and a drop in air travel prices. CTV's Kathy Lee shares expert predictions on whether this trend will continue.
Relief at the pumps. Canadians fueling up, noticing the usual hit to the wallet feels more like a gentle nudge.
I think it's great. It's about time we saw a little break.
I drive a lot for work, so it's great for me when we have the prices down.
The lower gas prices contributing to an unexpected ease in inflation last month, according to Stats Canada.
The expectation was that inflation was going to be 2.6%, comes in at 2.3%. I see this as being a good sign.
With the removal of the federal consumer carbon price combined with a drop in global oil prices in response to the tariff war, experts predict an even more positive outcome for gas prices.
If I compare April, which hasn't finished yet, 2025 compared to April 2024, the difference is looking at about 24 cents on average. If you think inflation heading down is something newsworthy today, as it is, you ain't seen nothing yet. Next month is going to see an even greater drop.
In addition to the decrease in prices at the pump last month, Stats Canada says falling travel prices also helped to slow inflation. Prices for travel tours declined 4.7%. Air transportation prices fell 12%. The drops coinciding with decreased Canadian air travel to the United States.
I'd say a quarter of the clients definitely are looking at other destinations with regards to going to the U.S.
One, because of the dollar, and two, because of the American tariffs and whatnot.
The trade war creating uncertainty over the Bank of Canada's interest rate decision. Economists and analysts CTV News spoke to are divided over whether the central bank will cut its policy rate again or hold steady at 2.75%. Kathy Lee, CTV News, Calgary.
And it's been a lovely day of sunshine for most of the Northwest today. Let's take a look at the weather forecast. Tonight on the North Coast, expect a few clouds with fog patches developing overnight and a low of +3 degrees. Over the next few days on the North Coast, expect the sun to stick around one more day. Then the clouds should roll in on Friday with clouds and some showers over Easter weekend. Overnight lows in the 3 to 4 degree range. Tonight in the Terrace-Kitimat area, expect a few clouds with fog patches developing overnight and a low of 2 degrees. Over the next few days in the Terrace-Kitimat area, expect sunshine and a high of 17 degrees on Thursday. Then the clouds will come in on Friday with periods of rain over the weekend. Overnight lows between 1 and 5 degrees. Tonight in the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, conditions are expected to be clear with a low of -8 degrees. Over the next few days in the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, conditions will remain sunny tomorrow with a high of 16 degrees, then a few clouds coming in for the weekend. Overnight lows in between freezing and 2 degrees. Checking your highways around the Northwest now. On Highway 16, there's bridge maintenance between East Cedar Ave and Baytush Road on Haida Gwaii. Also watch for ditching and road sweeping on Highway 16 as well as utility work. On Highway 37, there's road maintenance, frost heaves, and slippery sections. On Highway 37A, watch for falling rocks between Bitter Creek Bridge and Surprise Pullout. On Telegraph Creek Road, there's muddy sections and the rest area is closed at Burnt Trailer Tanzilla access. And this is what the roads were looking like this afternoon around the region from the view of the province's highway cams. Still to come, Canadian voters deliberate. Experts say Canada must be mindful of the threat of Alaska to BC's nascent LNG industry following renewed interest in the U.S. Alaskan officials have been trying to attract Asian buyers of natural gas produced in the state, even though the cost of such a project has prevented it from happening for decades. Senior analyst Josephine Mills says an Alaskan LNG project would attract customers across the Pacific, the same market being eyed by Canadian producers. Economist Kent Fellows says BC LNG projects may have trouble securing enough demand to justify their own plants if an Alaskan LNG project does reach deals with Asian buyers. As the federal election looms, the tumultuous political climate has some voters debating their allegiance, and as CTV's Yvonne Raymond reports, Vancouver Island could swing a number of different ways.
I think Donald Trump is a huge issue.
Suspense lingers in a national referendum, pinching out traditional topics of priority.
We have housing, homelessness, and poverty, which used to be number one, now dropping.
I think that's the first time that we've really kind of woken up to the fact that our sovereignty as a nation can be threatened.
Bonnie is among voters thinking strategically amid Canada-U.S. tensions shaking up national polls.
It's tough to tell whether the fluctuation that we're seeing at the federal level and at the BC-wide level is going to play out in the island as well.
History proves the region can be an outlier.
The island is extremely unique in the sense that it doesn't always endorse a government.
A time lapse through island votes shows a wave of endorsement to the former Alliance Party in 2000 when the Liberals reigned. 2004 signals party transition with Conservative, Liberal, and an NDP riding. The colors relatively hold through Conservative Prime Minister Stephen Harper's early years. 2011 marks another shift when Elizabeth May makes history as the first Green elected. And at the dawn of Trudeau mania in 2015, the island bucks the Liberal trend, turning largely orange, an NDP stronghold that's held today since the last federal election in September 2021.
For voters who are trying to figure out whatever their intention is, if they're thinking about voting strategically, you really have to look at it riding by riding. I'd be very cautious about looking at national polls.
The thing about the aggregators, they make projections. So it's not actually a specific number of interviews that you have in that riding that has been statistically reviewed, and where you apply weights and where you look at the representative nature of the sample.
The only sample that will count comes from those who vote. Experts say the key to candidates earning the island could be a good old-fashioned knock at the door. Yvonne Raymond, CTV News.
Swift Current is a small city with a big center feel. The southwest Saskatchewan community has a thriving local business sector, but even the most successful are struggling to stretch their dollar. CTV News sent Alison Bamford to one of the community hotspots to hear voters' biggest election concerns.
A warm, windy spring day in Swift Current signals the end of the winter bowling season. It's the last day of play for the Club 55 League. On the lanes, they don't usually talk politics.
We're just here to have a good time.
John Friesen turns 100 in September. He's the one to beat. He's thrown 5 strikes in a row. Much like his bowling game, he says he can't complain about the federal government.
We've always had a good government here. They give good pensions.
But for his competition, Jackie Coward, there are concerns. Affordability and the rising cost of living top her list.
I really watch what I have to buy. It's just gone crazy.
Prices are up everywhere, including the Social Bowl.
It'll be $9.20 with taxes.
Owner Tegan Gator says small businesses like hers are just trying to keep up with inflation, taxes, and now tariffs.
Our customers feel it, we feel it. It makes it hard to make any money.
Some people told me they don't vote. Living in a conservative stronghold, they say they can already predict the outcome. Others say they don't feel their vote matters in a first-past-the-post system.
The election is over when it passes Ontario. We don't have anything to say about the election, really.
There are feelings of Western alienation in this part of the province.
A helpless feeling for voters, but Swift Current Council is hopeful whoever forms government will continue funding municipal projects.
The big issue right now is recreational facilities, and we have an aging aquatic facility that has been good to our community, but it's old.
Back at the bowling alley, they're focused on their game, and just like the federal election, they won't dwell on the results. Alison Bamford, CTV News, Swift Current.
Turning to the markets now, strength in the energy sector helped Canada's main stock index make a small gain Wednesday, even as U.S. markets fell. The Canadian dollar rose 0.2 cents. The price of gold rose $106. Oil rose by $1.08. Natural gas dropped 8 cents. Aluminum rose $1. In Toronto, the TSX rose almost 39 points. The Venture Index rose by almost 9. The Nasdaq dropped 591 points, and the Dow Jones dropped 741. Still ahead, the debacle behind Vancouver's hotel room shortage. BC is investing $1.7 million towards 8 genomics projects with the aim of fast-tracking research on testing for cancer and heart disease. The province says it will contribute the funding via Genome BC toward the projects, which are valued at almost $6 million combined. The projects are being supported in partnership with Genome Alberta and also feature research on enhancing diagnosis and treatment for transplants and infections. Other projects receiving funding include those in areas of at-home lung cancer screening and safer chemotherapy for children. Now, those traveling south may have noticed it's incredibly costly to find a room in Vancouver these days. And although the solution may be to build more hotels, some hotel staff are questioning why hotels should take precedent over housing. Here's CTV's Isabel Zavarese.
It's described as a tipping point. Vancouver is in desperate need of more hotels. The city has as many hotel rooms now as it did in 2002.
We leave a lot on the table if we aren't having to turn away business because either we don't have enough rooms or they're too expensive.
The threat of losing billions in economic activity is why City Council adopted a new policy Tuesday. The goal is to build 10,000 hotel rooms by 2050.
If realized, new hotels could deliver more than 5,400 direct hospitality jobs, up to 8,000 indirect jobs, and more than $200 million in annual tax revenue.
The policy will encourage more hotels in the central business district and near transit hubs. Staff say demand is there, but creating supply is challenging.
In particular, securing financing for new projects is difficult in the current environment.
On Monday evening, one hotel union protested the plan.
Our members, the number one issue, like all workers in Vancouver, cannot afford to live here. And we are here to tell City Council that we don't want any more hotels to be built until our members can live in the city.
Staff acknowledge there is a labor shortage. When asked how building hotels may impact the housing crisis,
By creating more hotel supply, we take pressure off of illegal short-term rentals. Right? Or we undercut the demand for illegal short-term rentals, which helps to open up more rental housing.
There are at least 1,300 hotel rooms currently in the pipeline. But with major events, including FIFA, just around the corner, the city will have to wait and see whether this new approach makes a difference. Isabella Zavarese, CTV News, Vancouver.
A fan favorite team and field has now been upgraded just in time for batting season. Here's CTV's St. John Alexander.
Switched on and ready to go, the Nat is being pampered, the stadium overhauled, and what lies beneath that only players and technicians may cross is the star of the renovations.
I have never seen it this green at this time of the year.
Now pristine, Vancouver's own Field of Dreams. It was torn up, defaced, unrecognizable, and then transformed just in the nick of time.
They regraded the entire thing, installed a brand new drainage system as well. So
that's huge, right?
It's as big of a project as this ballpark's ever seen since it was built in 1951.
Those soggy, soupy spots that puddled and forced games to be scratched are likely gone. The team believes it will mean fewer matches canceled.
Once you get days like this, it's really easy to get people to come out to the ballpark, and I think that attendance is just going to grow throughout the summer.
Regular fans may notice bigger and wider dugouts that used to be rather intimate and cramped.
The old dugouts were much smaller in terms of horizontal length, and also they were much smaller in terms of width.
There are new bullpens, heightened fences, weight room for the players, and a brand new clubhouse under construction.
It will be slow to start as they get the excavation going, but once things get moving forward, it's going to be ready for 2026.
All this work began just as the last season ended, and there were some anxious moments. Orders from Major League Baseball, who wanted higher standards for their farm teams and prospects.
Maybe not all the way up to a major league standard, but close, or a facsimile of that major league standard.
And now comes all the finishing touches, ensuring it's a great return for players and fans to the old baseball game.
That's our news for now. For more local news, you can find us at cftktv.com. You can also find us on social media. We're on YouTube, TikTok, Blue Sky, and more. Thanks for watching.